what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the finals for the 2025 Everest Muscle Stars Poland Pro wrapped up this morning. And the results of that show, in 5th place, you had Damian Kufel. In 4th place, Akeem Williams. In 3rd place, Pablo Lopez. In 2nd place, Joan Pradels, and in 1st place, Andrea Presti. Now, I know a lot of people wanted Joan Pradels to win this show. And if you're watching the live stream, you could see even in the stream, even though the quality wasn't the best, there was a pretty significant difference in condition between Joan and Andrea. Andrea was a lot sharper and a lot tighter. And I think the argument for Joan was that he was much bigger, more muscular, fuller, but especially in the lower body. The lower body has always kind of been a weak point for Andrea Presti. And I actually saw some pictures that Andrea posted from the show that were a lot more clear than the live stream. And in these pictures on Andrea's page, I think the condition difference is much more visible in the HD pictures than it is on the live stream. I mean, it's definitely visible on the stream. But when you look at these pictures, yes, there's a really big size difference in the lower body. Joan has much bigger lower body, front, back, and side. But the condition of Andrea is without a doubt. It's levels above Joan's. And I actually do think this was a deserved victory. I think when you look at the pictures and more HD shots, I think the condition difference was enough to give Andrea this victory, even though Joan was bigger, more muscular, looked a lot fuller through the lower body, well, just a lot more size to the lower body in general. The condition difference, especially from the back, when you look at the glutes and hamstrings, I mean, you got to give it to Andrea when you see some of these shots. Now, I do wonder if Joan decides to keep competing, because so far this is his best placing this year. He's had some really good placings at the British Grand Prix, obviously the 5th place placing at Prague Pro, where he got talked about a lot with the comparison with Keon. Now he's up to 2nd place here. He's getting very close to that Olympia qualification. I wonder if he keeps competing in, I think there's a couple more shows before the end of 2025. It looks like there's 4 more shows. There's 4 more open shows. Now, there are some natural open shows in there, but just talking about the straight-up open shows. You got Romania Muscle Fest, which is next weekend already. Then you've also got the Mr. Big Evolution at the end of November. You've got the Japan Pro at the end of November. And you've also got the Big Man Weekend in Spain at the end of November. Okay, the Mr. Big Evolution is actually Masters 40+, so maybe 3 more open shows. But that weekend in November is pretty packed, that November 23rd weekend. So I wonder if we see Joan keep going to try to get that Olympia qualification, because I think this is the best he's ever looked this year. Maybe not at this show, but this is definitely the best we've ever seen Joan Pradels. I think he's made a ton of improvements, and he's arrived now. He's going to need to come in a little bit tighter condition to be a little bit more competitive, especially, against a guy like Andrea Presti. And, the reason why, like in my prejudging video, I was leaning towards Joan out of the 2 of them is, 1, I don't think the condition difference was as clear on the live stream. But 2, we kind of saw a version of this, a little bit more of an extreme version of this, when earlier this year, Andrea competed against Rubiel Mosquera and Nexzilla. It was kind of the same situation. Andrea was tighter, more conditioned, but there was this very clear lower body difference. And granted, this was one of the shows that Rubiel was in really good shape at. And again, this is an extreme example because Rubiel's lower body is just absolutely insanely large. But in that case, Rubiel was less conditioned, had bigger legs. They gave it to Rubiel. So I thought maybe in this case it could go the same way, because Joan, it's not like Joan looked off here. It's not like he was in bad condition. He was just in worse condition than Andrea. So I could have seen them giving it to him, but then really, like I said, looking at the HD pictures, it is a pretty clear difference in condition. I feel like you almost have to give it to Andrea when you come in that much more peeled than the number 2 spot. And again, especially the glutes and hams just look crazy. But I do think this was a deserved victory for Andrea Presti. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm sure this is going to be maybe one of the controversial decisions. I saw a lot of people after the prejudging video saying they had Joan winning. So I'm sure there will be some folks that disagree with this decision. But looking at some of those HD pictures, like I said, I can see that condition difference a lot more clearly, and I can totally see the justification for Andrea Presti winning this show. Now, next up in the news, I thought this was interesting. Kyle Wilkes, the former coach of Nick Walker, gives his last word on the Nick Walker coaching split situation. So this has been, one of the hot button topics of the week. A lot of people very curious as if there was some kind of underlying reason to why him and Nick split, or if there was anything beyond just the look at the Olympia, if it was something personal. There's this thing where, they're calling each other best friends on social media. So this is what Kyle said, and he says this is the last time he's ever going to address this. He says, I only want to address this once, and since I continue to be asked to speak on it, please see below. Many of you have already heard my thoughts during the Unracked podcast episode, so I have no desire to rehash anything. So that's the podcast episode that we already talked about in a video, where he talks about Nick Walker saying that Nick told him he didn't like the Pittsburgh Pro look, etc. I'll just say I remain fully confident in my abilities and in the work I did with Nick, as his Pittsburgh and New York looks spoke for themselves, and in my opinion put him right back into the conversation within the IFBB. The bodybuilding community, including IFBB Vice President Tyler Manning, responded extremely well to that look, as one can reference from any post going back to May and even now. That is why it came as news to me that Nick was unhappy with his presentation in Pittsburgh and now my methods. I only wish that it had been communicated directly previously, especially considering the amount of time, energy, and commitment I put into his prep and season overall. The reality of the situation is there were a lot of sacrifices made both professionally and personally that Nick commands from his coach. At the end of the day, athletes are free to work with whomever they choose, and I will always respect that, but when someone publicly refers to you as their best friend, as Nick did, you naturally expect a level of integrity and communication that extends beyond just business. I sincerely wish Nick nothing but the best, nothing but success moving forward. As for me, I will continue focusing on my own path, one that's already been incredibly fulfilling long before this partnership ever began. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I'm perfectly at peace with that. I will continue to speak for the coaches in the industry, as there are always two sides. So look, honestly, I think this was a pretty good, mature, final note from Kyle Wilkes. I think that overall this situation has been interesting in the sense that I've seen both of them kind of catch heat from both sides. I mean, Nick is a very high-profile bodybuilder. This is a big deal. The Olympia placing was not good. I've seen both Nick and Kyle get a lot of heat from this. And honestly, I still haven't really seen any personal digs from either guy. I mean, the worst thing Nick said was he didn't like his look in Pittsburgh. He didn't like the looks that Kyle brought for him, or that he brought with Kyle. And Kyle didn't really make any personal digs at Nick either. Kyle just said that Nick demands a lot from a coach. So I just don't particularly see this as like this, maybe as dramatic as people are making it seem. I know they keep throwing around the fact that they were quote-unquote best friends or whatever, but other than that, and maybe the unfollowing of each other on Instagram, other than that, it doesn't really seem like there's much more to it than, Nick was unhappy with the looks that he brought with Kyle, whether you agree or disagree with that. He was unhappy and he wants a different coach, or he wants to pursue something different. And for the record, I do disagree with that take. I really liked the look that he brought to Pittsburgh. I thought that was one of his best. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the Nick Walker and Kyle Wilkes split. I would also imagine you're probably not going to see Nick speak on this again. It seems like it's kind of settled. And I think also I'd like to know, what do you guys think is next for Nick Walker? So I think I'll probably just wrap up the video there. Those are definitely the two big stories of the day. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.